All right, guys. Hope you're having a good. What day are we on? I guess you guys are on Thursday. No, Wednesday. Wednesday. So I guess this is Wednesday. Mr. Obermuller is your sub. But we are going to continue on in graphing. So this unit is all about graphing, and we started on this tree map when we talked about graphing a line. And we know how to graph a line when it's in slope-intercept form. We put it in y equals mx plus b, we identify our slope, we identify our beginning point, and boom, we graph it. What you worked on for homework and what you had your quiz on was graphing by intercepts. So we can locate the x-intercept, we can locate the y-intercept, we graph those 2 points, and we plot those 2 points, and then we graph them. And then remember always the formatting for graphing is we use a straight edge, go all the way through the graph, and arrows on both ends. Well, today we're going to add on to that, and we are going to graph what happens when you were just given a point and when you were given a slope. How would you be able to graph that line and put it into y equals mx plus b form? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want you to add on to this tree map and put, when given x1 and y1, and slope. Remember, m stands for slope, and this is the first ordered pair. We're going to do it 2 ways today. So go ahead and take out your notes in the next part of your journal. I'm going to move the camera this way. And we're going to go over these notes together. Let me try and turn the light off to see if that stops the glare. I don't know if that helps or not. Oh no, doesn't look like it does. Does not look like it did. Can we turn it back on? Okay. That may be a little bit better. All right, so everybody should be on this page. And the point slope formula. Well, we're actually going to do it 2 ways. We're going to do it a formula way and then the way in which we've already seen. So when I give a point and the slope, I want you to turn it into y equals mx plus b form, slope-intercept form. So there's the formula, and the formula that we use is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? Now, remember the slope-intercept formula, y equals mx plus b, right? Remember that? Well, in this part, you're given a slope, and all you really need to find is that beginning point, because that's what makes us able to put it in slope-intercept form, is a slope and an intercept. Well, if they're giving us m, you're 50% of the way there. You just got to find out how to figure out what to do for that b point. So this is the formula that you use, okay? And then we're just going to plug in some x and y values and then solve and see what happens. So let's take a look at number 1. Remember, it's a formula, so I'm going to write my formula every single time. So if I give you 500 questions on point slope formula, you're going to write the formula 500 times. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So remember, we've been evaluating forever. So this is your x1 value, this is your y1 value, and I'm just going to plug in. Remember, y and x never ever changed, right? Because there's an infinite amount of, if you give an x point, if you give an x value, it's going to spit you out an output. So these guys are going to stay the same. The only thing that changes is m and b. So y minus 1, your y1 value is 1, equals, your slope is 2, x minus 4. So all I did is I substituted y1 is 1, and I substituted my x1 value, -4, into this x1. And now when I look at it, it should be instinctual by now. All we want to do is distribute and solve. So I'm going to keep y minus 1. I'm going to distribute my 2, and I get 2x minus 8. And then to get y by itself, I add 1, and I'm left with y equals 2x minus 7. So now I have found the point slope form. My slope is 2, and that beginning point is -7. Okay? All right, let's try another one. Okay. Good, it worked. So let's try number 3 together. Well, first I'm going to write my formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And now I'm just simply going to plug in some values. Remember that this -6 represents x and y because it's the first point, x value, y value. So I have y minus 0 equals 2/3 x minus negative 6. What happens when you have x minus negative 6? It becomes a positive. So I'm going to change that sign. And now I distribute out my 2/3 x, and 2/3 times 6, quickly off the top of your head, is positive 4. This 0 value, it just goes away. So it's y equals 2/3 x plus 4. Okay? And then, of course, I know my slope is 2/3. That's what's given to me. And my beginning point, my x-intercept, my y-intercept is positive 4. All right? We're going to do one last one together. And actually, hopefully, you just pause it. Now that somebody's doing it for you. Just pause it and see if we get the same thing. So I'll give you the answer to this. So I write my formula. And then I plug in some values. Y minus a negative 3 is a positive 3. My slope is negative 1, x minus 4. I distribute my negative 1, so I get negative 1x plus 4. And then I subtract 3 on both sides, so I get y equals negative 1x, or just negative x plus 1. And here my slope is negative 1, and my y-intercept is positive 1. So hopefully you got those. All right, now I said I was going to tell you 2 ways to do it. Right? So we did the formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, I'm going to show you why change what we already know. So this may be a little bit easier for some of you guys. So we already know y equals mx plus b, right? That was the very first thing that we learned. So if you're used to that, let's use it. Because look here, I have an x value, I have a y value, and I have my slope. All we need to find is my beginning point. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep my y equals mx plus b. And I don't need to memorize anything else. And now I'm just going to evaluate using the numbers that are given to me. So my y value is 4. So instead of y, I'm going to put 4 equals my slope is 1/2. My x value is 2. And now that is going to allow me to solve for b. So now when I multiply, 4 equals 1/2 times 2 is 1 plus b. And how do you get b by itself? You subtract 1. So b equals 3. Well, now I have my slope. Now I have my beginning point. Now I can just plug it in. So y equals 1/2 x plus 3. And remember, the first lesson in this unit was when you're given a slope and when you're given a y-intercept, how to make that equation where we just plugged it in. So it's the same thing. I found my beginning point. 3. My slope is given to me, so y equals 1/2 x plus 3. So let's try that again. And pause it and see if we're getting the same thing. So y equals mx plus b. That's what I know. That's what I love. So y is negative 1. My slope is negative 3/4. My x value is negative 8. And everything remains the same because I'm solving for b. So when I multiply negative 3/4 times negative 8, it's a positive 6 plus b. And so I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides, and then b equals negative 1 minus 6, which is negative 7. Now I have my slope. Now I have my beginning point. So now I can say y equals negative 3/4 x minus 7, and that's my answer. That's in slope-intercept form. Right? Let's see how we did on number 6, see if we got the same thing. So y equals mx plus b. My y is negative 9. My slope is 4. My x is 0 plus b. Anything times 0 is 0. So negative 9 equals b. So now I have my beginning point's negative 9. My slope is 4. So y equals 4x minus 9. And voila, I'm done. Okay? So hopefully that was pretty cut and dry, and Mr. Overmuller can answer any questions. Of course, you can always refer back to your textbook. And then stay tuned for the next video when we have 2 points.